Why is it that sometimes you notice a slightly messy surface, something just a little out of place, even the smallest misalignment, and suddenly you can't ignore it anymore? Before you even realize it, you're already adjusting, rearranging, restoring things until everything feels clean, balanced, and in order again? Why is it that even when you're tired, even when you tell yourself, it's fine, I can leave it for now, even when you try to relax, you still end up getting up, putting things back, resetting the space, bringing everything back to what feels like the right state? And why is it that you don't actually enjoy cleaning, you may even find the repetition exhausting, but staying in a messy environment for too long feels almost unbearable? That invisible disorder keeps pulling at your attention, making it hard to truly rest? If any of this feels familiar, then this isn't about being too clean, and it's not about being a little obsessive. What we're really looking at is something deeper: why you're so sensitive to your environment, why you feel the need to restore order, and why keeping things clean has never been just a habit, but a psychological process your brain is constantly running. You get home after a long day, the door closes behind you, and before you even sit down, your eyes have already scanned the room. There's water left on the kitchen counter, a few unopened letters on the table, a jacket draped over a chair. None of it is serious. To most people, it's just normal life. But your attention has already been pulled in. You set your keys down. But you can't fully settle. That small, unfinished area keeps returning to your awareness like a sentence that was never completed. You try to ignore it. You pick up your phone, turn on the TV, let something else fill your mind. But very quickly you realize your brain hasn't let it go. In psychology, this is known as cognitive load. Your brain automatically registers every unfinished element in your environment as something pending, even if you have no intention of dealing with it right now. It doesn't disappear. Research shows that physical clutter continuously occupies visual processing resources, reduces focus, and increases mental fatigue. That's why, in the same room, what others see as a bit messy, you experience as multiple open loops running in the background. You're not exaggerating the problem, you're simply taking in more. Where others see a space, you see a system of unfinished signals, and those signals don't go away until they're resolved. Those unfinished areas don't just disappear, they stay where they are, quietly, persistently, taking up space in your attention. You're still standing there, but part of your mind has already drifted away. You know they're not important. You know you could leave them for later, but that sense of something not yet finished just hangs there. So you move, you walk into the kitchen, you turn on the water, you start washing the dishes, one by one. The action is simple: the sound of water, the physical movement, the steady, repetitive rhythm, they begin to pull your attention back into one place. You wipe the counter, you return things to where they belong, and slowly the space begins to change. At the same time, so does your internal state. That scattered feeling starts to gather. Your breathing settles. The noise in your mind begins to quiet down. And when the last small detail is finally in place, you can feel it clearly. Something has been reset. In psychology, this is closely related to your locus of control. When you can directly influence your environment, your brain exits uncertainty. Stress responses drop. Your nervous system begins to stabilize, and organizing your space is one of the most immediate ways to do this. You act, and the environment responds instantly. No delay, no ambiguity. That clear cause and effect restores something essential, the feeling that things are under control. So you're not really cleaning, you're closing loops, one by one. And that subtle, real sense of relief was never just about a cleaner room. Once the space becomes clean and ordered again, that quiet sense of calm lingers. You sit down, and this time, your attention is no longer being pulled away. But the real shift doesn't happen in this moment. It happens after many repetitions like this. At some point, you stop waiting until things become overwhelming. You begin to notice disorder before it fully forms. A cup is used, you wash it immediately. Clothes come off, they go back where they belong. A surface is slightly marked. You clean it without thinking. These actions no longer require a decision. They happen automatically. You're not telling yourself, I should be more disciplined. You're not forcing yourself to maintain a standard. You simply do it. In behavioral psychology, this is tied to identity. People don't sustain behavior through willpower alone. They repeat what aligns with who they believe they are, when keeping things clean is no longer a task, but part of how you see yourself. Someone who takes care of their space, someone who doesn't let things spiral. Then the behavior stops costing you energy. It becomes part of your system, as natural as brushing your teeth. So what you're seeing is not more discipline, it's a stabilized behavioral pattern, not because they try harder, but because this is simply who they've become. By now you may have started to notice something. What you've been doing all along was never just about keeping your space clean. It was something deeper. You were turning chaos into clarity, turning disorder into something manageable, taking a scattered environment and bringing it back into a structure you can understand. So the real question was never, am I too particular about cleanliness? It's this, you have a certain ability. When things begin to feel unclear, disordered, or slightly out of place, you notice it and you bring it back into order. Not because you're forced to, not because you have to, but because you respond. While most people gradually tune out the noise, you don't. You act. You restore clarity. You make the space feel stable again, and that's why, in the same environment, others can ignore it, but you can't. Not because you're weaker, but because you're more sensitive to disorder. And when you begin to understand that, something shifts. You no longer need to question yourself. You don't have to ask, why do I care so much about this? Because what you're doing was never something small. The next time you find yourself putting things back, resetting the space, try seeing it differently. You're not repeating a habit, you're returning things to where they belong, the space and yourself. Because real order was never just external, it reflects how your mind organizes the world. And when you can keep creating order in your everyday life, you gain something rare, the ability to stay steady even when everything around you is not. This is happy psychology. May you understand yourself with more clarity and meet change without losing who you are. See you next time.